First item of business is approval of the minutes. We have two sets of minutes, one for the special meeting on February 8th and one for the regular meeting on February the 8th. So are there any corrections or questions of staff regarding either set of minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve both sets of minutes.
Second that motion.
Okay, is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Chairperson's report. I attended the Dolphins crab feed and the kids did an awesome job.
Yeah.
The swim team did an awesome job, and the guests that joined me that night, they just thought the kids did an outstanding job. They were adorable, they were very courteous, probably better service than what you get in a restaurant. So the crab was something else too. I mean, that was some good quality crab, especially considering crab is not as plentiful as here and it's small, but I don't know who they served it with. It's pretty good, and it was my third crab feed that I attended. I have another one Saturday, so kudos. I hope they do it again next year. I'll be there.
Oh,
yeah. Isn't it you are what you eat? Never mind, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're saying and Pedro was there as well.
oh yeah.
Oh, that Pedro,
Oh, Pedro's not crabby, okay.
Good time, man, by all, I think, yeah, definitely.
And on time. If you weren't sitting at your, they were bringing that food at 6 o'clock. And that's the first, and it's like the only crab feed I've ever been to where, boom, it's
Right.
on
It's
time.
on,
So,
Travis is ready. Good job.
excellent job. Okay, is there any comments from my fellow board members? Hey, Alan.
I'll just remind my fellow board members, don't forget to do your Form 700 and all that other fun stuff, if you haven't done it yet. Seriously, if you did electronically last year, it took me probably 2 minutes to do it. It's very quick, you just go in and update it to the new year. See, last year I had to do 2, this year I was able to combine it into 1. Yeah, because of my other thing. The other one was an incoming board member, so that, yeah.
The longest part of that for me was remembering my password, so.
I had to get I prefer to 1099 and I finally got it today, so I can do
Just in
mine.
time.
Yes, very much so. So we got the end of the month to do our Form 700. So any other comments from my fellow board members?
Good. I just have a question, if I may. I attended a North Highlands community event at the park over here, Freedom Park. And the question was raised while we were there, like, for fees to rent that. But if it was for, like, just to get the community members together, how might that work?
Generally speaking, we don't discount or waive the fees for community groups who want to use it for, I'm aware of the meeting you went to. We were actually contacted by the gentleman who was interested in a facility, and he's actually come down and rented it. He's paid for it and rented the facility. But the reason is we have to be very careful that anybody can come down and say that we're doing something for the community and we want it for free. And so generally, since I've been here, we have not waived the fees. I don't believe, maybe, do you remember any time we waived the fees for the tickets at rentals at free?
Just for National Night Out.
National Night Out. But if I remember correctly, this fellow wanted to have one of the picnic sites once a month for an event, and he also wanted, this is Pedro, this is what he request he made of us. He also wanted to have access to the electricity and a number of other things. And what we explained to him is that really what we need to do is follow proper channels. What you should do, if you have an interest in getting it for a reduced fee or free, then what you need to do is send me a proposal, let me look at it, I may have to do some research on it, then we bring it back to the board at the next meeting with the proposal and our research that we've done on it, and we make a recommendation to the board, then you make the decision. That's your decision to make. But I think other than National Night Out, since I've been here, that's the only one, I believe that's just a one-time deal, right?
Correct.
Yeah. But normally, and we explained it to him, so he wanted to have it for next month, so he actually paid for it. And we said going forward, if you would like to have some other consideration, then you need to provide a written proposal to the district, and then we would also invite him to come to the meeting once it's put on an agenda.
Now, is there a standard form for that, or is it just like?
No, just a written proposal. We just basically know where, what, when, and how, that sort of thing.
Where, what,
Why,
why?
you know. And we've shared that information with him. He knows.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, anyone else have anything to say? Okay. Reports from standing committees, so did anyone?
Next month.
I know, next month, yeah. Okay, administrators report, so Larry, do you have anything you'd like to highlight?
I would like to, you have the report on the Cherry Blossom Park basketball court update. If you remember last month, we had a gentleman here that made a request for us to consider adding a basketball court. And you can tell from the report that we engaged the architect who designed the park to get his input. And in return, he also contacted the civil engineer who did all the civil work, engineering on the park. And there are some significant issues and reasons why at this time adding a basketball court would not be a financial, would not be a good fiscal decision by the board, because we'd have to go back and basically start from scratch and redo all the underground work, the drainage. A lot of the work goes into it. The reason is there's a 42-inch line that goes through that grass area where we talked about possibly putting a basketball court. And there's also some above-ground design drainage systems. And the way the park is designed to, you can't see it, but the grade is one that, so the water will, when heavy rains, it will sheet down the back of the park and go in and overflow into the retention pond. So from Kevin said, look, it's not impossible to do it, but we have to go back and actually redo the park. Because everything is designed to do a certain thing, and putting a hard surface on top of the design, what's been designed already, would not be approved by the county. So that would require us to go back and redesign it. The other part of it too, which is I don't think is significant, but it is important. Where Kevin said that the closest where they could really, where it made sense to locate a half basketball court would be closest to the retention pond. And that's also, if you remember from the park design, there's a cul-de-sac on the right-hand side. That's the shortest distance to what would be the basketball court. There was concern that we might get a lot of flack from people who buy houses there because people come to use the court might head into the cul-de-sac and park their cars. And the way the driveways are oriented, we'd have a problem. The other thing too that the county's expressed a concern about was that if you place a basketball court close to the retention pond, inevitably there's going to be basketballs that find their way over the fence and into the pond. And that's exactly why they have the fence there, and they don't want to have anybody in there. So the answer is, it's not impossible, but it would be costly, and it would set back probably the park design by 3 to 4 months, maybe more, if we have to, because we have to go back and get all the approvals from the county and on all the other fish and game because of the water drainage. So there's a lot of impacts to it. We like to say that, yeah, we like to put one in there, but I think, my recommendation to the board would be it'd be too costly, time consuming, and would delay the project.
Alan?
So, back to what you said, that it would be 3 to 4 months in a redesign. I'm assuming the redesign would be on us.
On us. Because we're making the changes.
That's what I thought.
And the reality of it is, I guess the civil engineer told Kevin, to reorient that 42-inch main that goes through there, you have to then change everything up in front of it. And remember, they've already got all their underground stuff in. So then that might even be more costly to us, because now we would be asking the developer to make plans to parts of his development that don't have anything to do with the park. So it's a little bit of a story there, but at the same time, I kind of knew when we talked about it, there was probably going to be some hurdles and some obstacles that we were going to have to work through, and they do seem a little bit insurmountable, to be honest with you.
Well, my question is on it then, because like I said, my daughter lives there, and when I told her husband, oh yeah, there's, we're looking into a basketball court and everything. Is there, would we send anything out, saying, hey, this came up in a meeting, and...
Actually, we did, because in your packet, you'll see that we sent another letter out to the residents, and we mentioned the basketball court, and we mentioned the park playground selection.
Yeah, I didn't put, I guess I must have missed it. Okay.
Yeah, so, legally, we don't have to do anything, because
Right.
there wasn't a basketball court to begin with, there wasn't a change in plans, and,
Yeah, we were just asked to look into it.
Right.
Yeah, and I think, the gentleman who asked it, I think he was a realist. I think he even said, hey, look, if you can do it, great, if you can't,
Right.
I understand.
That's pretty much it.
But I also want to make sure that we did really look into it, not just, dismissed it because maybe
Right.
somebody doesn't want a basketball court. But, in hindsight, if maybe if we were starting all over again, that might be something. Of course, you know how that works. Once you start over, you start looking at other things too. The good news is, remember, we do have, even though the park does not have a restroom at this time, everything will be, plumbed for a restroom. So if somewhere down the road that the neighbors decide they absolutely have to have one, but then that could create a conflict within the community, because those living close to the park are not gonna like an idea of a restroom. But if you bought one of the first homes in the phase 1 or phase 2, you probably would like to have a restroom, so you don't have to run Johnny home when he has to go potty. Because those plants and trees are gonna be way too small for a long time.
I was kind of shocked, because they were like, we don't want the bathroom. Like, okay.
They may not have young kids, you know how that works. All you need is one person that wants it. But again, and I don't want to overstate it, but I think it was wise on the board's behalf to plan for the just in case. It costs us a little bit more. We're already putting water lines in. We already got sewer lines in, so we're running everything there. We're stubbing it out, and if we have the place that's already designed for it. You have to come in and do drop a prefab restroom in. It's already to go. So all that engineering work and stuff and not tearing up the park, we don't have to worry about that. We just have to buy the restroom and get it there.
So does anyone else have any questions regarding cherry blossom? So is there anything else you
Oh,
want to
well, just one last thing. Alan brought up last meeting about the CSDA annual conference. We put the information in your packet about the conference. I know it's a long ways out, but as Alan said, you really need to start thinking about it now, because to ensure that you get registration and, most importantly, the hotel, and a hotel close to the event or at the event, you need to do that now. And I don't believe they'll let you register for the hotel until you
That's what it
actually,
said, yeah.
well, you can, but you can't get the discount.
You can't get that right.
Yeah, and that rate's it's definitely a pretty good rate on it.
Because about 6 or 7 years ago, I didn't, so when it was in Monterey, not this time, the time before, I waited and didn't do it right off. And by the time we did it, the hotel was booked up. And so I called the hotel directly and I said, well, because the rate was like $169. Oh, it's $425. I said, thank you very much, never mind.
But, so if you decide that you want to go, contact Terry or myself, and we can go ahead and make all the arrangements for you. You just gotta let us know, and we'll go from there.
One thing that the gentleman asking about the basketball hoop, he mentioned he was seeing a park that had 3 baseball fields, and he said it looked like it needed some work. I was driving around and I was just trying to figure out what park was he talking about, because he wasn't sure, and he said he was saying he was driving down Alberta, heading east from, from the new development, and he said it was on the right side. And I was like, well, there's no park there. There's no park on the right side. I think what he meant, he was driving down Antelope Road and on the right side. That's our park. I'm forgetting the name of it at the moment.
That's
Brock Park. Yeah, Brock Park. That has baseball fields. It's on the right side. He might have been talking about that, so I don't know. I drove by it the other day and it looked fine. The baseball fields look maintained. I know the hills are it's hard to mow those hills real good, so I don't know what.
Well, and Scott can speak to this, but our agreement for the maintenance of for use of the ball fields, we put on the backs of the baseball groups.
Yeah.
And I think that's been a pretty traditional
Yeah.
way of doing it
yeah,
over the years.
They got a field day this weekend that's going there to.
But I do want to share with the board, and this is something that Scott and I have been discussing quite a bit lately. We're noticing a lot of people are parking in the parking lot at night. If you drive by the morning, what was it, 8 or 9 cars the other day, Scott? They're putting up things to block the windows, they're backing themselves into the spots so they can get out quickly. There's a lot of things going on. I don't like locking parks up, but in this case, we already have a gate there, it needs some work.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's a little
Yeah,
more.
so Scott and the staff are looking into getting it fixed. It's a priority of ours to get this done. And we also want to work with, get Paladin out there.
Right. That was the issue before, is because getting somebody to go unlock it and lock it,
Well, and the Paladin has indicated to us that they'd be willing to do that. And I would rather have someone like Paladin out there chasing people out of the parking lot than an 18, 19-year-old kid
Right.
after dark. But I'm really surprised we haven't had more complaints from the people who live next to the park. But they're parking there for a reason, and it's not a good reason. And we've made a huge effort to try to minimize that at Freedom Park, and I think we've had a lot of success, especially since we have nightly patrols by Paladin. But I think it's important for us to work on getting that gate repaired, and Scott's also talked to, was it Pony Baseball, that they'd be willing to also assist in locking the gates, but I think that in the long run, it's better to have Paladin do that, because if something happens, either they can take care of it, or they can get a hold of the sheriff's department and get out there real quick. So anyway, that's, you're probably right, Zach, that's the park he's probably talking about.
So if the park is closed sundown to sunrise, or?
Sunset.
Yeah, okay. So what I thought.
There used to be a long time ago, that we used to actually have park hours, wherever. The problem, you got like this weekend, you get the time change. And if you put the park closes at 8 o'clock and it's dark at 7 o'clock, you got a problem. If you say the park's gonna close at 8 o'clock and it's light and people are still using the facilities, now you need somebody to chase them out, and people don't like that. So it's not a great way of doing it, the sunset, the sunrise way, but because it's not an exact science, especially if somebody has to cite somebody. How do you say, well, it was in at 8:05, but it was still light out? I don't know.
But it definitely means that, 10 o'clock when it is dark, there's no,
Right. Yeah, that's no question about it.
Yeah, I think we're way too early in the game talking to Paladin, but I'm sure we're going to set up something along the lines of, that we would want you to go into the park after it's actually dark enough. The baseball kids and families have all left. The people who are in the park are the people who should not be in the park. And try that. And we may have to, play around a little bit until we find out the right formula to make it work.
Yeah, there's definitely a couple cars that are there. That they just
The
go
white
in.
Volkswagen.
Yeah, we tried to get her rent out before, and
They're living in there. There's, I'm sure there's drug dealing going on, but there's people who, they probably feel that's a safe place for them to go. It's along a busy way. You got houses on both sides. Park your car out in case you have to make a quick getaway. They've got it all figured out, but we need to get them out of it. That might be keeping people from using the park.
Yeah.
We can't have that.
I agree.
So that's all my comments about it.
All right, Scott?
Nothing to add to my written report unless there are any questions.
I do want to say something. The gentleman who is here at night that closes down, he's such a courteous gentleman. I mean, he would, very courteous.
Which one was street?
The gentleman that's here tonight.
Oh, okay.
Steve,
Yeah.
he's been filling that role for about a month now. Yeah.
Yeah, and, you know, he was at the crab feed and everything. Really nice guy, made sure, last month, Zach and I were chatting, he stayed and made sure that we got out safely.
Yeah, for
So
about 20 minutes, he was just, standing by his car, we just thought he was hanging out. And then we go, he's like, okay guys, and we're like, you're waiting for us? And he didn't, so he was so professional, yeah.
Steve joined us back in July as our seasonal part-time maintenance worker.
Okay.
And quite frankly, I kind of pushed the envelope on the season part of it. So he has a tremendous work ethic and brings some experience to the table. So we had the opening pop up on the modern custodian thing. And so we're easing him into that. Some growing pains, but he is a very conscientious guy.
So I just wanted
Well, thank you.
mention.
I will make
his
sure that I
professionalism.
tell him that. So.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, Alan.
So, a question for you, Scott.
Yeah.
So, in your report, I believe I read that you had to replace some ceiling tiles in the administrator's office.
Yeah.
Is that from him trying to skate, or?
No, he keeps rocks at his desk and he throws them
Oh,
there and he gets
okay.
angry.
That's fine.
No, it's a little water damage from the ceiling.
See, I don't complain because when I came there was a tile that was from a previous water, and it had stains on it, and I lived with it until we had to replace the one that was getting awfully wet.
Anyone else have any questions or comments for Scott?
I'm waiting for Terry.
Okay. Mark.
I don't have anything to add to my written report, but I do want to highlight two upcoming events this month. So the first event is our second annual community yard sale. We call it the Spring Clean. We've already sold out all the spots, so we've actually had to reopen. I've actually opened up 4 more spots, and we're going to expand, and I expect we'll get more before next week. So it's a rain or shine event. Looks like the weather's gonna be good for next weekend, at least for next Saturday. I keep checking it every day. We're hoping to have another big turnout, and we'll do it twice a year. We're hoping that it continues to grow. And then the second is obviously our biggest event, which is the Spring Fling. This year we're bringing back the train.
Oh, that train is cool.
The training school, it's gonna be free train rides for the kids. It goes around in the circle of Freedom Park. Kids love it. It's the greatest attraction we've ever had in a special event. We'll have bigger petting zoo this year, like mini pony, alpacas, bounce houses. And we're gonna do the egg hunts the same way we did last year. So with the little kids, I think the biggest highlight of last year's event was we made like little heats every 10 minutes for kids between the ages of like 1 to 4. So parents can go in, but there's only like 10 of them. So they weren't competing, run over kids. It created a lot more positive experience than we've ever had. So we're gonna continue to do that this year, so you can keep it up.
Yeah, my daughter made out like a bandit.
Yeah.
So many eggs.
It'll probably be my daughter versus your daughter in an egg hunt. It'll be fun.
This is gonna win.
They have such a great time, the kids do, you know? It's very heartwarming to see them having such a wonderful time out there, the community coming out and having a great time. And then for the older kids, I mean, there's a basketball court, so I mean, the whole park is being used.
It really highlights Freedom Park the whole time. I mean, the park itself is an attraction. So the whole day is great. It's 2 hours. I think last year we had around 800 people. So this year I expect we'll even have more knowing that the train is back.
Yeah.
So it's just going to continue to grow, but that's what we want.
All right.
Where's the date of that?
That's the 31st.
It's the last
day before
Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alan.
So, the event a week from Saturday, what time is that?
It's the spring clean.
Yeah.
That's going to be from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m.
8 to 2, thank you.
Okay.
Come on out, buy some stuff. Terry and I are sharing a spot. We're going to be selling stuff. Come on out to our little spot.
So you can buy Terry's stuff and she can buy your stuff?
No, Terry, you're selling wigs, right?
I'm gonna be silly. I'm gonna have a picture out of my son's weight bench. I'm gonna put out inside the garage.
Yeah.
Come get it.
That's the second location.
Go back inside.
So, any questions for Mark?
So, actually, another question on that.
Yeah.
So, I don't want to get too technical on this, but I know if you, since we're hosting now 2 of these a year, are we responsible to make sure everybody collects sales tax? Because I'm just bringing this up, there is something with, well, it's not State Board of Equalization or they change the revenue or something else, that if you hold more than 2 per year, you may be responsible to make sure either they have a resale number themselves and collect it, or we do it. So I'm just saying you may want to look into that.
I will look into that now.
Or have
Yeah,
Terry look into that. She has nothing to do during the day.
I'll look into it. You know, other park districts do it 2 or 3 times a year, so I'll see.
Yeah, just, yeah. I
I'll
mean,
call her.
or you just anonymously call and find out, so we're doing this, so we're responsible. You know, don't say where you're calling from and block
Placer
your number.
County?
I'll just call my friends.
What can we call one like a garage sale and one like a yard sale?
But you're holding 2 events selling
This is
stuff.
similar,
That's-
yeah.
So I'm just saying, I don't want us to get dinged later.
I'll look into it.
Okay.
Put a little candy out there, say, we're just donating it.
Okay, Terry? No, nothing? All right.
Oh, good, thanks.
Okay. Correspondence, that is, going to be discussed under, new business.
You did just say it.
Yeah, so comments and reports from citizens and organizations. Oh, I'm sorry you're missing us tonight. I know there's another community meeting happening at the library, but this is blocking. So, item 9A, unfinished business, Cherry Blossom Park. So Larry, what do you have for us today?
Okay. This is one of the things where I need you to follow along with me here. At our last board meeting, the board, we were looking at we looked at 4 different sets of playground equipment. 2 of them were the original ones at $75,000 each, and the other 2 were $150,000. After looking at things, the board decided that the original ones were $75,000, which were part of the park budget, that those were sufficient. A question was raised about, and I think it came from the audience, about adding a swing set. So this one here that you have in your hand, the orange and blue equipment, you'll see on the front page, on the bottom right here, do you see this? I think it's called, what is it, a tilt? I don't have it. It's a 10 spin. This little piece of equipment right here is a 10 spin. We replace that, if you flip the page,
Is that the thing in the top, right?
yeah, same thing, you're right, same thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the big
So
one.
we took that out, and if you look on the next page, on the lower picture, there's a little boy in a wheelchair. Look behind him, you'll see the swing set. You see that?
Yep.
Okay. So if it suffices with the board, that's what we did. We took that piece of equipment out. The price doesn't change, it stays the same. And so now for the 2 to 5-year-olds, they have a swing set.
And the picture shows 2 swings and that is the style of swing?
No, we can add just different types of chairs.
So we're gonna have like at Strusick Park.
No, that's a little.
Hey, I'm just asking.
I was gonna think about it, I was gonna ask the same question. so.
That's Cadillac
that's the
Plus.
same No, you could have one. Yeah, you keep in mind, the swings are all interchangeable.
Right.
So we can put belt swings, we can put seat swings, you can, like the one you saw, at the Streetlight, you can add that. The one thing to keep in mind though, this is what they call a 2-bay swing. And the problem with that is if you put one of those in it, that only leaves one regular swing. And those regular swings are probably gonna get 95% of the use. Now, if you are interested, I certainly could talk to Kevin and see, it probably wouldn't add a whole lot more cost to it, and I think there's plenty of space there to make it a 3-bay swing.
That's what I was just gonna
Yeah.
suggest.
And then have 2 regular seats.
Come on in.
Excuse me. My wife Julie.
I do.
Hi.
like that, because I was gonna bring that up too. Have two regular swings, because Pat and I were on the same page, I think. That one swing where you put your child in front of you and swing together, I thought that was a great thing.
Yeah, my daughter and I did that at the new park. That was the best swinging moment of her life for sure, definitely mine. So, yeah, it was great. I was swinging with her.
Yeah, well, by the way, I shared pictures with staff already.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, you know, and I'm sure Kevin has, probably included those types of swings, and if not, we can always take a picture of it and send it to him, and he'll know what it is.
Right.
So if you're interested in that, we'll change it from a 2-bay to a 3-bay swing,
Oh,
and we'll add
That's
that.
what I like.
It just is making it more family
Yeah.
swing,
Yeah.
you know.
It's piece of cake's done.
Okay.
Okay, so the next one, the board actually said they liked the Berliner option 2. And the question that came up, in fact, you'll see on page 1, that's the big green slide.
Right.
You flip the next page, you see that, I don't know what you want to call that thing.
Spider wall.
Yeah, whatever it is. Right. And then in the back, you see there is actually, it's a higher swing. And on the third page, you see all 3 elements of it. And that's actually from a park that this was put in someplace. So the question is, the board had, could we mix the 2 companies, Miracle and Berliner? And Kevin says, yeah, it happens all the time. And that's not a problem. And what about color matching? We can't color match both because they're different companies. But he says, why would you want to? He says, the more color you have out there, he says, people don't care about the colors. Most parks have multiple colors anyhow. You'll never be able to match it exactly. But he said it happens all the time. From his perspective, it wouldn't be an issue if it wasn't an issue with you.
I would just like something a little bit brighter than the green color though.
You don't like the green?
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
everything's green. I mean, it's trees and, I'd rather have something that would stand out a little bit more.
Primary colors.
Right.
Because we're looking at
Do keep in mind,
tires.
we won't have any trees.
Well, that's
Any
all
light
right.
at the park anymore. But now, unfortunately, Kevin didn't send me the color sample.
Right.
So if there's a color the board is interested in, I can have a look it up. And again, this stuff isn't selecting that color isn't, nothing you take tonight is gonna make any difference. What I can do is ask him for a color sample and bring it to the next board meeting. If you like this, and say, here's what it is, what color do you want? We can pick the next one.
Yeah, sure.
So if you're comfortable with the Berliner, and then we'll go with the Miracle, and we'll switch the 2-bay to a 3-bay swing with that particular seat facing you and the child. I'll let him know that on Monday.
Or
All right.
we
So
need a
this-
motion for any of this right
Yes. Option 2, everything we see on this would be the entire thing, or does it also have the spiral?
now? No, it's this. It's
It's
Just you
this,
see
okay.
here, we'll have those 3 pieces of equipment.
Oh, it would be all 3, okay.
Okay.
We'll
We'll
get all
get
3,
all
yeah.
three.
Oh, then yeah, I think
That's
that's
a
slime
that's a
check.
eyeball, right?
So,
This is right here.
so we're gonna go with
Fireballs, right?
Option 2.
option 2, 100%. And then, for the top lot, we're gonna go with the 3-bay with that super cool Cadillac of
Yeah.
a swing.
If you can. So moved.
Yes.
So moved.
Second?
Or second.
That was me.
Okay. Is there any?
She's talking and I'm like, does she agree?
No, I'm asking for a second. So Zach did.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are there any more questions, further discussion? All those in favor? Motion passes. All right. Okay, 10A special, the California Special District Association Board of Directors calls for nominations for CA. Hi,
I'd
Alan.
like to nominate Diane Richards.
Thank you, but I'm gonna turn that
Okay.
nomination down.
That's a lot of stuff you have to get involved in.
I know.
How do you have a wife?
Yeah.
I don't know how I have one now. I don't know how people do that have like a house full of kids.
Well, from going to CSDA, most of these people are retired.
Yeah, I noticed that, yeah, the demographic, yeah, so. Anyway, so but does anyone want to volunteer to be nominated?
Larry, you interested?
You know, I did that very small split second until I started looking at all the commitments and expectations.
retired, I might have more time to do
Right.
it. I think this year I would pass.
Alright, so,
Mark?
it looks like, Terry,
No.
no, okay.
Terry, Mark just got appointed to the CPRS board, District
District 2.
2.
So Terry should do this one then, right?
I think so.
Is it to balance things
I-
out? Is that what you're trying to say? Okay.
On your intro.
I always get
Okay, so now we're passing this year, all right.
Okay.
So, 10B, Resolution 558, or 558, calling on the November 6, 2018 elections. So, Larry, is there anything you would like to say regarding calling the November 6th election besides
Well,
it's required by law?
yeah, and we actually, we were approached by county election department about, normally we have a precinct here, but they're doing it a lot different this year.
We're a pilot county.
Yeah, we're, Terry, what is the commitment again?
4 days.
4 days, not 1 day. And, which probably is a better thing for the
Saturday,
public.
Sunday, Mondays, and then Tuesday.
And they have all the equipment they're gonna bring in, and we have to store it for them, which, storing it for 1 day and for 4 days is probably not much difference. Would we put them in here, Terry?
We put him in here, and then we have a mail drop spots in the front and the lobby too.
So this is something that, I think happens just around every election that we have, and, you have your candidate statement, qualifications, and, the notice of the combination election notice. I don't know anything else you, yes, sir.
What you handed out,
Yes,
I think this is incorrect.
okay.
Okay, so here's my recollection. Now, keep in mind, I am old. Obviously, I'm good, elected 2014, I ran in 2018. Now, if I remember correctly, Pedro was put against Sarah's seat, I believe. And then Mike stepped down, and then we had Pat that filled Mike's seat. Does that sound correct?
So Terry and I spent quite a bit of time on this, and,
Okay.
and this is, the information I'm sharing with you was actually backed up by all our documents. So, we'll start with Pedro. Pedro was appointed in January 2017.
But whose seat?
Sarah.
That's a key question.
It was Sarah. Sarah basically did not run again.
Correct,
She basically.
correct, that's where I'm going with it.
Right, so Sarah did not run again.
Right,
And so the next step was to have appointment. The board interviewed 3 candidates, 2 of which were sitting right here.
Right.
Pedro was selected.
right.
Okay, and I have an attachment to that, and if you look at that attachment.
But I'll explain why, because this is what happened to me when I was appointed to the board. So Pedro's on Sarah's old position, which technically wasn't up for election until 2020.
No.
So he goes for a 2-year term to finish that seat.
Her election her term was up in 2016.
Yes. She
And
did
so,
not.
right,
Exactly.
right, and
So
so
the next one will be 2020.
Let's see, she didn't run.
she did.
I understand
Right.
that. But the seat he was appointed to, since he wasn't elected, he has to then go for a 2-year term starting 2018 to 2020, because her term would have gone from 2016 to 2020.
Actually, it's the other way around now. The way it says, and this is from the election code, and actually, our attorney has sent us a copy of this as well.
Okay.
What it says, and we see that little green spot down there, if the vacancy occurs in the first half of the term of office, and at least 130 days prior to the next general election. The next general election, in this case, was 2020.
No,
2018.
2018, I'm sorry. So, he was appointed in, so Pedro was appointed in 2017. Her seat was up in 2016. So there was no election and was an appointment.
correct.
So the appointment says, if it's made in the first half of the term, which is the first 2 years,
Correct.
then they have to run for election at the next general election, which is 2018.
That's
If-
correct.
If the
But it's only a 2-year to finish that 4-year slot.
Yes.
Right, see? Right.
Yeah, he has to run
He
it
has to
for
run.
2 years.
No, I said he has to run.
Or-
But
Yeah.
we've got it as terms expire 2018 and technically,
Go to jail.
okay?
No, he's
His
not
term
going
doesn't
to
really
jail.
expire with
That's my typo, I'm sorry.
Okay.
It is 2020. The 2020
Right.
doesn't change.
Okay, so I just wanted to clarify, so Pat and I run for 4-year, if we're keeping it what it is, and Pedro runs for a 2-year until 2020.
Because we have to stay within the same,
Right,
every
of what
other
we said.
year, 3 run
Correct.
and 2 run. Correct.
Right.
Okay. So Pedro, you have to run, we want you to run.
Please
But
run.
you'll be filling
Yeah.
the remainder of the 2-year term. Then after that, if you decide to run again, it'll be a 4-year term after.
Correct.
Yes.
He's got to finish the,
Right. So
Okay.
we were going wrong distance. If you just pointed out the 2018 versus 2020, I would have,
Okay.
2 seconds.
all right.
We
So
got it.
that's what I was saying, because it depends on, I thought Pedro was Sarah's spot and Pat was Mike's spot.
Yeah.
Because it's always been Mike and I run, and the other 3 board members run the opposite 2 years.
I think everybody here is well versed about all the things we've had going on with the county elections office over the last few years.
Right.
And, the appointment versus election versus when were they appointed, 130 days prior to the first 2 years, prior to the end of the term. Once we figured it all out, we realized that Pedro was gonna run, but he was only gonna run for 2 years.
Right, okay,
And then, Pat, you're running for 4. Yeah.
okay. So
And now
just,
so forth.
just when the 3 of us go down, we have to specify what we're running for.
Well, the county sent us a form.
Right, and we should probably be listed already as quote incumbents or appointed.
Well, we only had 2 listed. We had to change that form to add a third.
They didn't have Pedro
They didn't have Pedro on the
You
form.
gotta go down there when it comes to it. We'll take that.
Yeah, it happens, I think in
I was
July.
good.
Where we have to go down to 5.
Yeah, on 65th Street. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
We ran one before here.
We haven't had a contested election since I've been here.
Well, last time I ran, I got beat out by,
Mike?
No, no, no.
that older guy from the neighborhood,
Oh, yeah. Fred Gale.
Fred Gale. Yeah, he beat me. Yeah, that's because my name was
Yeah,
down
he
towards the
got
bottom.
bad ballot position, that's why.
Yeah, so on the ballot, you and I are gonna show together, and Pedro's gonna be shown separately, unless there's other people that are running against us, obviously.
That's if you guys are actually on the ballot. No runs, then you don't show up on the ballot.
Well, right, if nobody.
Yeah, it's,
if we're
then it's
uncontested, it's not.
uncontested.
What's the deadline date for turning in your form? Once that is passed and there's nobody else, then you're basically
You're
declared.
Yeah, and then when the election's declared, then you get you sworn in, and then you officially have your seat. After the governor declares not the governor, Secretary of State declares the election.
Right. And our registrar of voters is retiring, so,
Oh, she is still alive?
Jill's retiring. We got like 6 departments retired.
Well, I know, and you can see him, right? At least one, I know.
Yeah, yours taking his place?
No, we'll have to talk later. Okay, so we discussed the resolution 558, so, do we have a motion?
So I guess that's just a motion to accept,
No,
right? Isn't that?
no, we have to motion to, have the,
To get on the.
to have the election,
Resolution to approve resolution 558 is what you're,
yes.
yeah.
Okay.
So Pat, would you want to make that motion then?
So, I'll second whoever does it.
Okay.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 558, calling for a general district election for the North Highlands Recreation Park.
I see. Okay.
and then Pat, you're seconding?
And I'll
Yes.
second it, I'll
Okay.
on that.
So is there, any further discussion? All those?
Yes.
Oh, sure. Pedro.
So just to clear this up, for us rookies, right?
Yeah.
Oh, just
So- Yeah. I'm going to jail, I told you.
No, you're
No, I
not
don't
going to
have
jail.
that for you.
Hey, I know people, Pedro, you're good, I can just set up.
That's true.
time we did it. But, no, seriously though, I just wanna make sure though, so we passed this, right? And this is for us to get onto a ballot.
This is declared for us to get on the ballot.
This is declaring for us to get on the ballot.
The district to get on.
Yeah.
It tells the county we're gonna have
We're
3 positions vacant for the next general election.
And then after that, we'll get a form, we
Right.
fill it out, and if nobody else runs, then there's no need for us to go down there.
Or you have to go down
You have to go and file your
You gotta
paperwork
go in person and file.
and say,
On
I'm
65th.
on 65th.
As you get closer to a payment, we'll share information with you as it becomes available.
Okay.
We're quite a ways away so far, but believe it, they start this early.
Ready.
In July,
Yeah.
so.
It's filing period, what, 3 weeks, 2 weeks? 3 weeks.
What's that?
2 to
The
3.
filing period where you can, I think it's 3.
Quite a long time.
And then if nobody else does it, if the incumbent doesn't do
Then
it,
it's
then it
one
gets
more.
extended 1 more week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If one of the incumbents fail to file.
Well, we will know when that is true.
Well, we're all incumbents, so we're all
yeah.
gonna file.
Terry
so-
will make sure you are notified.
Okay.
And Pedro, as information comes to us, to share it with you. So you're gonna know all about all this stuff, and you'll probably hear from the county directly as well.
Thank you. I think I got a little light shed on
So
there.
that-
A little less mud. A little less mud.
We'll make you veteran real soon. So we got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, so item 10C, candidate statement of qualification. The board has to take action to determine whether to limit the candidate statement to 200 words or to authorize to extend it to 400 words.
I make a motion, we keep it at 200 words.
I second that.
It's very expensive.
It is very expensive. Is there any further discussion? Who's second? Is it Pedro or Zach?
Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. D, combined election notice. Board action to declare how to require notice of district election will be published individually or combined with other districts. So we want, what, the combined, that's how
We want combined.
it's traditionally
Yeah, combined.
done combined, so,
Keeps costs down too.
yeah.
Okay, I'll make a motion to combine.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, is there any further discussion? All those in favor of a combined, publication? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
We have budgeted $18,000 for the election.
Yeah,
So if nobody runs against you, we save a lot of money.
I said we could go have pizza and drink.
Or 2, yeah.
I'll just hire a Guido on my side and make sure that we just break a leg if you can't do it.
So this is incorrect then, right? We have to redo this for what they're supposed to sign tonight for notice to
The
the.
one that says 2 members on it?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what we'll do, you pass this, Terry, you're gonna,
I can do it.
yeah, we'll contact the county tomorrow.
Okay.
We'll get them to change it. If they have to have this back before the next board meeting, then we'll actually ask Zach and Diane to come by and sign it.
Okay, sounds good.
Because it should say, if I remember right, this should say, hold on, wrong form. It should say, board of directors, 2 positions, and the board of directors, 1 short-term position, or something like that. You might want to call.
Yeah, we'll talk to them, tell them,
Yeah.
so we'll make sure that they have
Yeah. Because it's
2
not,
full-term ones, 2 4-year terms, and 1
One short.
One
Right.
short, yeah.
pretty much, yeah. I'm gonna have to wait too
You know,
long.
you're gonna have to have it send us a new form.
No, this is what I meant.
I will get
Oh, you made it?
Okay.
Oh,
Okay, Terry just told me that we have the ability to change it. They give us basically the base. We make that, so Terry will go ahead and change it to say 2 4-year terms and 1 2-year term.
Right.
And then Diane and Zach, if you can come in and, next week sometime and sign it, and so,
You remember doing that?
Don't worry about it.
don't worry.
Yeah.
Just make sure, because I'd rather have it, we get it correct instead of the county says, oh, you didn't do this right.
And then we
The
got
county would never
some-
do that though. I love the county.
All right. Payment of the bills, so anyone have any questions regarding the bills report?
Already reserved money, Mr. Box right there.
Just so the board knows, we've already started the 2018-19 budget process.
Yeah, we're meeting this next month, right, probably? Or
I
not?
don't have the list in front of me.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a set date for it already. I think it's a month after. I'll double check.
So I noticed on here, I'm not gonna question you. The audit of Clifton, Larson, and Allen, and I was at a training last week in Southern California, and guess who won at the training? It was them from one of their offices down there. So they were mentioning where they are in California, and then they said Roseville, so that's, yeah, it's pretty much a national firm now.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Slide
After you get the hang of things.
Well, slide over that miscommunication
I know.
regarding the,
No, I know. Wrong good.
one of the reports.
I'll make a motion to ratify payment of the bills.
Second that motion.
Okay, is there any any additional questions or further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, the next regular meeting of the Board of Directors will be April 12, 2018 at 6:30 PM in the North Highlands Recreation Center, 6040 Watt Avenue.